that if we go digital with the cash, then we're going to eliminate drugs overnight, And while that's true, you're also going to eliminate a lot of other stuff that you don't want to eliminate, garage sales and stuff like that. I mean, you eliminate an entire section of the economy by doing that as well, not to mention the drug trade, of which they are heavily, a part of. So, but I'm sure that they'll have a contingency for that. I mean, there's just got to be. There's got to be a way to do it. So.
Yeah. Oh, there was the other thing. I think Google launched their medical thing the other day, where they're going to be storing medical records on patients on Google now. So I don't know. I really can see this card or whatever when the time is right, just having everything on it. It's gonna, your medical history, everything will be digitized and it'll be right there. And I don't know. You got to imagine that it'll be a card first and then an implant, but I don't know. Maybe you don't have to. It just seems like everything is, as they digitize more and more stuff, how much of you, or like some kind of a crazy digital avatar of you, can you store on one of these things? Pretty much everything. Just it can. I don't know. You just look at what the Nazis did with their cards, and I don't even want to get into it. It just, again, very, very glad to kind of distance myself from having to be focused on this stuff all the time, because it really, really gets overwhelming and can melt your mind down.
Yeah. Well, one thing, I mean, I do think, I don't know, I guess this is just thinking out loud, really, but I do think that there is a desire for, obviously, some sort of mandated vaccination, and I could see whether they announce that or not, like, okay, whether they say, we're going to also do this with the vaccination, I could see them having within that vaccine some thing, whether it's some nanotechnology actual thing, or if it's some kind of virus or something to that effect. But the only reason I think that is because I just couldn't see them missing that opportunity. I mean, here they're mandating everybody to get stuck with a needle, and they're not going to take the most advantage of that. I mean, if you just said to them, like, if you could poke everybody with a needle, what would you put in that needle? They'd be like, oh, rubbing their hands together. Oh, I don't know. Let me think. Maybe we could put, I mean, It would just be whatever it is, it's not going to be good. But that's so easily doable. And when you see, like, people like George Bush's uncle or something, it's always fun to, like, look into the Bush family's investments, just like Wikipedia, their different relatives, and then looking kind of things, what companies are they the heads of, or what boards do they sit on. But one of the guys he owns like some kind of quarantine centers. It's like little mobile quarantine centers. I'm like, oh, great. That's just wonderful.
That's perfect. Well, now they want to build more detention centers. They want to call them processing centers, where they want to keep legal aliens that need to be deported. So that's how we're going to get the public approval of building these detention camps. Because as they pop, more and more and more of them are popping up, people are starting to ask questions. And, that's just because we need somewhere to keep all these pesky illegal aliens.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's so very real, too, that, like, in any point, like, let's say that there's another drought like there was last summer in America, and as things being so kind of tight that they are, it would be something where you would have to set up some kind of relief funds for a lot of the people, or not relief funds, but relief places just to get water and food and stuff in the major cities. And even if it was just one of these things where that was just to set the precedent of, hey, when things get bad, we go to the government camps and everything worked out last time, let's make sure we remember that for next time kind of thing. Or if it's like that time, but I don't know. So many, I guess it's just speculation. Again, this is really, it's not all that productive just to sit and speculate on all that kind of like possible bad things, because there is so much work to be done in the light right now. I mean, to go out and to let people know not just about the bad things that are coming, but the good things. I mean, to let them know. I mean, we're a part of this great commission, and there's no better time to go out and, fight the good fight than it is right now. Considering, that's what I try to say a lot to different people that still seem to be, that I know what I know, but also, you know, are still living for their lives and their things and are having a hard time really detaching from the world and all the things that it has, which I understand completely. I mean, it really, at the end of the day, it's hard to really say, yeah, but, you know, I got a lot going on. I want to do this. I want to do this with my life. I've always wanted to do this. I've got dreams and everything else. It's like, yeah, but what if this really is the time that was, you know, told about 2,000 years ago? What if we really are at that threshold of the end of time? I mean, would you really care about whatever little thing it is? You know, it so pales in comparison if this is true. And if it's not true, then, you know, it should be more obvious than it is. It should be more obvious that we're crazy or that we're off base. But I think even people that want to believe we're crazy are like, yeah, and they're even coming up with things now. They're saying, oh, yeah, well, so what? Revelations, yeah, that's coming true, but they planned it that way. It's like, oh, come on, guys. Come on.
Yep, and, you know, that's something, and I don't know, talking to my girlfriend, that's what popped in my mind. It's just going to come out or it's going to look like it's going to come out or whatnot, that everything that transpires that's in the Bible, that's been prophesied, they did it that these political leaders did it. You know, they made it happen on purpose to fool the people because all they wanted, you know, right from the beginning, Christianity was just a way of mind controlling the masses, you know, and they're just furthering that along. And I don't know, you know, I argue about this stuff with people all the time. And like you were saying before, you know, going into the dark and shining true light, you know, actually, you know, illuminating, you know, to kind of pull back and grab back some of what Christianity is all about and what these fakers basically have stolen, actually shining a light on what's going on and showing people what the heck is actually happening and what this stuff means. And it's just, you know, you can speculate till you're blue in the face, and that's just another reason I just want to I'm making this move, because it's just so much more important to be focused on the Word of God and on what that tells us. I mean, like you're saying with people that don't want to give up their dreams, and they, you know, we're so into this system that it's, you know, it's almost like Christians don't even realize that it's not necessarily a great thing to have massive wealth. You know, it's, yeah, you can do lots of good things with it, but, you know, what does it actually do? What did Jesus tell us about it? You know, it's not the easiest thing in the world to get into heaven if you're a rich person, and there's a reason for that. And I don't know, I was just reading that. I just remember thinking, like, wow, you know, the disciples were shocked when Jesus was telling them this. You know, that they're like, I'm trying to think of what the exact quote was. It's something like, you know, these people are not going to have any of these riches that they have here in heaven. It's just not going to be there. When you're in the kingdom of God, this stuff is totally worthless. And they're like, what? You know, how can that be? And it's, you know, typical, like, here, sit down on my knee, let me explain this to you. And we just forget that. It's just, you know, we want what we want. We want to be special. We want to live comfortably. And we forget that we're just supposed to trust in Him to provide for us. It's not necessarily always us generating or being that responsible, like having that responsibility to go out and, you know, gain all this wealth on our own. You know, I'm rambling.
Right, and but that's where the joy is. You know, I mean, that's where we all want. I mean, when you ask people what they want in life, and you know, then most people aren't going to say, "Oh, money. I want money. I want power." You know, they're not going to say that. They're going to basically say something to the effect of, "I just want to be happy." You know, I don't need much. Don't need a big house. Just want to be happy. But then that happiness is always like in some sort of way wrapped up in being comfortable, having what you need, but then that becomes like only like, well, maybe if I get this enough, and once I can do this, I can be happy, because they're never really happy right then. Well, they need this, they need a good wife, husband first, or you know whatever, and then a a cozy job, a nice house, nothing too big, blah blah blah, 2.5 kids, then we'll be happy if the job, but it's really you could even break it down to its more lowest common denominator, and it comes down to joy, where joy is more of a thing that it's like come what may, you know, you still got joy. And I think the way to have joy is to be doing the will of God, who made you a very, very, very particular way and knows you very, very well and gave you all these varied skills and talents really for one reason, and that is to do his will. And it's really not a big guessing game to know what his will is, because he loves everybody and doesn't wish anybody to be lost. And so he wants his people to go tell that to the other people. And so that's why such a big part of his commandment was to love your neighbor, because in loving your neighbor, you don't want them to be lost. So you just want to tell them. We have all these Babylonian systems around us telling us, oh, don't do that. Oh, they weren't going to like you if you do that. Just all these whispers. But then when you just shrug that off and go full force and you see God work, and all you had to do was just not be afraid, and then you see this just massive display of his power because of nothing you did but just be bold. But, one thing, if anybody wants to talk, call in, they can do so. You can go to TalkShoe.com. If you're listening to this in the archives and you want to do this next week, you can go to TalkShoe.com. You can check out the show. It's called The Frank and Chris Show. Generally what happens is we will schedule a show. We're not really 100% sure now when we're going to schedule it for good. Right now we've been doing it on Wednesdays, but I think next week we're thinking about doing it on Monday. And so, but one way you can find out for sure when it is that we're doing it is you can go to one of our websites. You can go to nowheretorun.podomatic.com, or you can just Google Nowhere to Run and Chris or something like that, or you can go to salvationrevelation.com. Ostensibly, we've got another website we could be directing, and you can basically see a little widget thing that's going to have a countdown to when the next scheduled show is. So that's going to be good for you if you're listening and you want to call in next week or anytime. You can find out when the next one is, and then hopefully we'll have it pinned down to a precise time per week and everything. But right now, I think we can even start doing it more than once a week. I don't know, but we'll really playing all this by ear at the moment. So, but yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, and hopefully, I don't know. I like to maybe make it a little bit more structured in the future. Where we'll work together on some stuff, and try to really present something, and then people can comment on it or call in with their own, what they want to talk about, and we'll have a good time, and it's kind of like an internet fellowship in a lot of ways. So by all means, please, stop by, and even if you want to argue with us, you're welcome to do so.
Right, and if you are listening to the archives, go to TalkShoe.com. We do have all the archives available on TalkShoe.com of the past shows for this show. And the cool thing is about 15 minutes before the show airs, the chat room opens up here, and that seems to be a really cool thing. And it seems a lot of action's going on in there right now, and it seems like a really, really cool thing that's going on. So certainly check that out. And, like you're saying, we can collaborate on a lot of stuff. I think one of the interesting, I was listening to Alex Jones talk today. He's such a crazy guy. He's just such a madman, but, you got to love him. I like the way, like, he was getting all fired up because they were analyzing some of the stuff that Jesse Ventura was saying on their show, and then on Howard Stern's show, and he was like giving orders out to his men there. He's like telling them what to write the article about. Do it now, Delta Force, men, attack! Like just doing all this stuff. It's just crazy. But in a way, it is like that. I mean, me and you both have like we're multifaceted in the things that we do. We're both kind of savvy as far as the technological stuff. We can work in a lot of different mediums, and I think that's going to be helpful in this new kind of situation where there's so many fronts in which to battle this darkness. And in a way, it's really easy to do. It just needs to be on a lot of terms of people. You just got to go to get ourselves in different things, and there's so many things that are able to collaborate, like this latest thing we're doing with the Acharya S and the response video. That's just going to be awesome when that gets done.
Yeah, and I don't know, do you even want to talk about that now, or do you want to wait till we're done with it?
I mean, we could mention it. I guess but it'll be done here pretty soon. Might as well wait, I guess.
Yeah, we'll hold off on that, but that should be funny when it's done.
One thing I was checking out an old Jordan Maxwell today,